Happy Sunday, as always. Today for my conversion story, it's not really any moment in time. It's really what I want to share about is my relationships with people and how they changed and how they've been since I joined the church. Specifically, people who are not members of the church. So, I want to say that I do have moments of feeling very alone in this church. Like it's kind of always been my own thing, so I'm kind of used to it. So generally, I don't notice. Like I'm used to going to church by myself. I'm used to attending the temple by myself. I'm used to not doing churchy things with my family. But there's moments where I recognize other families, like attending the temple together, and when we talk about like growing up in like an LDS household, then it reminds me like, oh, I didn't have that. And although I've had many experiences that I'm so grateful for, like from me not growing up in the church, there are moments where I'm like, oh, like I'm alone, right? I'm always like when I'm at church, I'm surrounded by all these people, most who I barely know. And when I like, go visit my family, we don't do churchy stuff. My family, actually, usually I attend Catholic Mass with my family, and then I'll also attend my church by myself. Or if they're at the same time, we'll go separate. So some things aren't so fun, but it does strengthen me in this church and in my testimony, and it's good for me to have those moments where I can continue to make choices, right? Choices to follow the commandments and live the gospel as I desire to, like as I feel like I should. So good things, but let's dive into a little bit of how it has been. So, honestly, generally, most people that I have been friends with or family members have been really open. They're like, hey, that's awesome. Like, you do you. Like, that's cool that you found a church that you truly believe in, so much as to be baptized against your family's wishes, basically. And so they were really supportive, and they're like, that's fine. Like, if you don't drink anymore, it's fine. Like, it's not like I need you to have a beer in your hand to hang out with you. So that's been fine. And usually at like family functions, I would be drinking throughout the day. And honestly, when I don't, nobody notices. Nobody says anything. It's not a big deal. But while living in Pennsylvania for about the first, well, what was it? Maybe 10 months of being baptized, I was in Pennsylvania. And some members of my family, they weren't with me, right? So they're like, oh my gosh, she joined this church. It's like a cult. And they believe all the stereotypes that people think about Mormons. And so I was told that I was brainwashed and, so this person said, I don't hate Mormons, but I think you're all brainwashed. So literally told by a family member that I was brainwashed. I was asked if I have a soul. Like if I even it just, well, does your church believe that you have a soul? And I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, what do you think I am? And then I've been asked about like Christmas and Easter, if we practice those holidays the same way several times. I'm like, yes, we believe in Jesus Christ. Like, it's the same. We're not weird, I promise. So there's been some trials, but I do want to tell you of a cool experience. After going through all that, then I actually ended up living with my parents for 1 month in January 2015. And I was actually really nervous about it because now I've never lived with them since having these religious differences. So I wasn't sure what it was going to be like. But basically, we actually think I went to both churches because I believe there is truth in every church. That's what we are taught. And I still love the Catholic Church. So I like going, and I think that builds family unity, even though I hope that because in Catholic Mass, you get out of the pew and you go around single file to take communion. And so I don't get up anymore to go take communion, and I don't recite the prayers, and I don't do the sign of the cross anymore. anymore, but I will like sing the hymns and certain things that I think our churches have in common. I will say, like I'll say the Our Father because that's a prayer from the Bible. So that might be a little weird for my parents or for my family, but hopefully they appreciate that I go. And then I would just go to my church on my own, and my parents respected that. And then, okay, so my parents came with me to get my patriarchal blessing that month. I ended up getting it in Buffalo in that January, so that was amazing. Not the experience that I was hoping for, that I thought would happen, because a lot of people, specifically I can remember my old missionary saying, wow, that's going to be such a spiritual experience, your parents are going to really feel the Spirit and blah, 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 and it's going to be so amazing, and really they didn't feel anything. Honestly, I barely felt anything. I was like, what? I felt like I really missed out, but my patriarchal blessing has turned out to be quite the blessing in my life. But so I don't know, that was an interesting experience, and I think at this point I still am not sure what any of us are taking from that experience of doing it together, but I do think it showed that my parents were supportive of me, so that was good. And then they watched with me a biography on our prophet, President Thomas S. Monson, which I feel like was like a huge win for me. Like, for them to even be open to doing that was amazing. And I think it was because they saw how I lived the gospel, and they saw that I was dedicated and committed and really serious about it. And they also saw that it didn't change me in any negative ways. It only changed me for the better. My dad said I was more, or they both said I was more patient, more selfless, more compassionate. And I think that's truly, that's true, that the atonement can change us in such a big way. So, we talked about this in church a little bit today, and I think that, because I've had other friends ask me too, one big question I get is, why don't you drink coffee or tea, but you drink pop? I'm like, honestly, I don't know. Some things are just an obedience thing. But for all of these people who have known me before and after, I believe that they have all been really supportive and still like remained my friend and remained my family because they have only seen a change for good, and they've seen me kind of stay true to my faith. I have basic knowledge, or at least like a testimony, like a reason why I do and don't do things. I truly believe in all things that you really need to know why you're doing them or why you choose not to do them, and that helps other people understand or at least respect you for it. So those are some things that have helped me kind of relate with those people who either disapprove of my decision to join the church or just weren't a part of it or something like that. So that's been a little bit of my experience. Sometimes it's hard, sometimes it's not, but I know it's all for good, no matter what it is. So that's my testimony I want to share today, and I'll see you next week.